So our next speaker is Elena Falcone. She is a Breath, Body, Mind Level 3 teacher and the Director of Public Innovation and Engagement at the Westchester Library System in Westchester, New York. And she is an incredibly dynamic teacher and organizer. And I'm just going to let her tell you about some of the incredible programs that she's been doing.
Terrific, Pat. Thank you. Have my slides ready if you don't already have them. Hello, everyone. Those videos that Durval and Jyoti shared are just so wonderful. I have been involved with Breath, Body, Mind since 2019 and 2018, actually. And it's because I'm a librarian. Librarians do all kinds of interesting things, but largely in the area of education and information. And I was doing a program about trauma and trying to educate and raise awareness among the general public and also agencies in my county about the impact of trauma. And in that came to understand that if people started to explore that and understand it, they had few resources that they could turn to that could make them feel a little better as they work their way through that. And it was with that question, what else can we do, that Breath, Body, Mind stepped in, thanks to a referral from a dear friend in this large network of concerned agencies. And I wound up going to a fundamentals training up in Elmira, New York. Brian Hart is here, who's the person who sort of really connected me in there. And at that fundamentals and level 1 training, I just was blown away by the combination of experience and data. So I was there going, oh, it's breathing. What the heck are they talking about? And then the experience and Pat's amazing presentation of the research data behind it both did the head and the heart business on me, so that I really walked out of there ready to be a bit of an evangelist in my county for this. So with that, Pat, would you put up the slides? I'm always arguing with folks about, what do libraries do? And I wanted to have this really fit in with the model for what we were about. And let's go to that next slide, Pat. So I came back determined to make sure that we could provide public programs about breath, body, mind, and make that available. So free public programming is something that libraries do. And I wanted to build capacity. I couldn't be the only trainer in Westchester County. So we really wanted to make sure that the schools, local government, agency staff were able to touch on this. Although we quickly wound up in a role of not just trying to promote training, but also providing staff wellness opportunities, especially as COVID emerged. And I, of course, being a librarian, I wanted to leverage this work to promote relevant library services. We have so much in your public library, in my 38 public libraries in Westchester. There's so much that can help people, but they can't connect with it if they're so shut down by the stresses of their lives, and there are many. So you go to that next slide, Pat. So I did what we do, which is I'm the director of outreach. We took this work and started directing it to the audiences that had particular needs. So we were in senior homes, we were with youth bureaus, at-risk youth, agencies serving adults who have intellectual disabilities, reentry populations. I do a lot of work there. And we wound up getting invited. Every time I'd go to an organization, it was clear, yeah, my staff could really use this with their clients, but they are too stressed themselves to take a step in any new direction. So we became the group that offered pop-up wellness trainings. And we created a lot of collateral materials that we could direct people to. So there then became a website with a list of available classes, and a lovely fold-out card that we now have in English and Spanish, so that I could hand people and say, try this stuff out. Come to one of our free classes and see how that works. So outreach was something we did consistently. And let's go to the next slide. And boy, those free public programs turned out to be gangbusters. So we had them in person and then ultimately on Zoom giving us an amazing reach around the county. So this one trainer became multiple trainers, because I could then also point to the Zoom programs that were available through other teachers who were willing to receive students, particularly Ann Fluchis, who's flagged there. She was wonderful in providing sort of this whole free weekly program series. I was her backup initially, and now I've become much more confident in teaching those classes as well. And there's a picture here, actually back up 1 second, Pat. There's a picture in the corner of a bunch of teens. So hard to get teens to come into this, but when you do, they really can become quite engaged. One of them works with folks who have intellectual disabilities, and she goes into group homes and does some, embeds this training in there. Another was a young woman herself who was from that population, and she has been doing breathing practices with her friends at the residence every day, which is just delightful to hear. We'll go on to that next slide. So in addition to offering free public programs, we also made fundamentals workshops available. And we had our first one was in 2019. I got Dr. Brown and Dr. Gerbarg to come in for that. It was fabulous. We got a big grant to make it all happen. And from 2019 to now, I'm still reaping the benefits of people who were engaged in that program, who finally are saying, I'm doing the practices, I really want to learn more. So it's just taken some time. We did some of the first online programs with all of the breath, body, mind teachers. And then in this year, the real payoff has been getting to do 3 fundamentals workshops, 2 of them in particular in person, where people that I've been working on for a couple of years finally came through. And that group right there with Linda Lentini and I as the 2 core instructors, this was the Department of Health for Westchester County. They had a fight to get the time release for all of these staff to come and be there. And this is probation, the WIC program, foster care. It's just fabulous that they're all there. And about a half a dozen or more of them want to get teacher training. So I'm delighted. So we'll go to the next slide. And we even won an award, which was really great. The Westchester County gave us a Public Health Service Award. I didn't even want to apply for it. I just thought, oh, they're not going to give us an award. And the person who actually turned me on to this, he's the one who wrote up our application. And just having gotten this award was so helpful, and it gave us a little bit more weight within our community for getting people to pay attention to the programming that we were doing. So I have a nice piece of plastic and a certificate, and I have those words that I can use when I promote the program. So I wanted to give you a sense. So we'll go to the next slide, Pat. I wanted to give you a sense of what we were doing with this, because it's not typical, as I had to explain to my board, what are libraries doing, offering breathing instruction. And I had to explain things like this to them about the power for our network, about the amazing assistance it offers to our patrons, about the service that it offers to our own staff. And so my takeaway is just, it really does take persistence and patience. If I had stopped after 2020 with COVID, we wouldn't have been able to reach out to the hundreds of people who came to our classes. The follow-up with everyone really mattered. We'd have this roster of people, and I'd call them up and say, we do have those free classes. And I'd call them again 3 months later. We do have those free classes. And when people are ready, they hear it. It was so good for our network. I'm closer now, more intimately involved with the Department of Health, the Department of Community Mental Health, probation, parole, 1 or 2 school districts. This really makes a difference. And the BBM resources are so impressive. I love promoting the healing power of the breath, now in multiple languages and available as an audiobook, because they're good reads. They're available for free from the public library as well. But they are really good reads, and they make all the difference. The videos that are publicly available of Dr. Gerbarg explaining the science, Dr. Brown explaining the exercises, fabulous. And yay for COVID? No, yay for Zoom. Zoom, because of COVID, gave us amazing reach. And I'm so grateful that we have this ability to be helpful across the sea, to be there when people could really use this. So thank you, Dr. Brown and Dr. Gerbarg, and to all of the teachers who made this possible. I flagged on there Anne and Linda, but a lot of the teachers who were here, we've all worked together to make these trainings available, and people have assisted. And it's just been amazing, the community that has emerged out of this.
Thank you so much, Elena, for that really I said she was dynamic presentation. And for mentioning our Audible book, which just got released. And that has Dr. Brown and myself, we are actually reading the book to you. And there is some new material in this version of it. So you can add that to your holiday list, I hope. Get a little plug-in. Anyway, it's all good. Thank you so much, Elena, for the great work you've been doing.